Parliamentary Forum, and I open the works. This panel is composed of the following persons for this solemnity: His Excellency, the President, the Vice President of the Republic, Mr. Geraldo Alckmin, Mr. Hugo Mota, the President of the House of Representatives. Also, His Excellency, Justice in the Supreme Court, Mr. Gilmar Mendes. Also, the Deputy Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Maria Laura da Rocha, Mr. Second Vice President of the Federal Senate, Senator of the Republic, Mr. Humberto Costa, co-parliamentarian, coordinator of BRICS in the Federal Senate, Mr. Humberto Costa. Also, Mr. Representative Fausto Pinato, coordinator for BRICS in the House of Representatives, in the Chamber of Deputies. So I'd like to invite you all to stand for the national anthem that will be played by the Presidential Guard under Master Valmir. On this occasion, I'd like to invite you all to watch the video, the institutional video, for the opening of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum.
Welcome to the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, a space for democratic dialogue and the sharing of legislative experiences. Welcome to Brasília, the young modernist capital recognized by UNESCO as a World Cultural Heritage Site. In this unique setting, the Brazilian National Congress Palace hosts delegations from BRICS member countries, partner countries, and international organizations to expand inter-parliamentary collaboration on strategic topics. Global health cooperation, world trade, climate change, artificial intelligence governance, reform of the multilateral peace and security system, and institutional development of BRICS. 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum for the construction of a more inclusive and sustainable global governance.
Your Excellencies, Presidents of BRICS Parliaments, distinguished parliamentarians and diplomats, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great joy that we open the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, held for the first time in Brazil. Brasília, our capital, welcomes everyone with open arms. And the National Congress is proud to be, for the next few days, the home of this forum, which already proves to be a strong symbol of international cooperation among our parliaments. By assuming the rotating presidency in 2025, Brazil consolidates its position of respect for political differences and international dialogue as an essential instrument of peace and progress. It is in this spirit of cooperation and joint construction that, for 3 days, representatives of the legislative branches of the 11 member countries and partner nations will be here. At this forum, we will discuss essential themes of our time. We will talk about the current challenges of the multilateral security and peace architectures. We will debate how to strengthen public health systems in a world still vulnerable to health emergencies. We will address the advance of new technologies, especially with a special glance to artificial intelligence, which is growing at an accelerated pace and that demands a normative framework capable of including as well as protecting people. And we will also talk about sustainability and development. The environmental topic will be one of the central topics of our forum, because there is no true economic growth without a vision for the future, without a long-term vision. And we cannot conceive the possibility of the future without sustainable and economic developments. It is necessary that both go hand in hand. These issues summon us to a responsibility that is not only urgent, but also collective. There are agendas that transcend borders, demanding cooperation and, above all, require increasingly active parliamentary diplomacy that is more vibrant and active. Since its creation, the BRICS Parliamentary Forum fulfills a unique function, which allows parliaments to express themselves autonomously and complementing the actions of governments on the directions of international cooperation in solving issues of the highest importance to society. We are the link that is necessary between the interests of the people we represent and the global decision-making bodies. We are, each parliament, the voice of our people. Therefore, by participating in this forum, we reinforce the commitment that the voices of society, our culture, and our history are present in the world's great debates in the world. Each one of us is here to speak on behalf of the nation we represent. The seat we occupy is sustained by the hope of better days for our populations. Along this path, please allow me to highlight 2 points that I consider especially symbolic in this edition of the forum. The first one is the active presence of women parliamentarians, with their own space for dialogue and proposal building. Society strengthens itself when it effectively incorporates the female perspective into political decisions. The Brazilian Parliament has made progress in representing its diversity, and we are proud to host a meeting that has, as one of its pillars, women's leadership. The second point is the expansion of BRICS. The entry of new countries reinforces the inclusive nature of this bloc. We are diverse, but united by the pursuit of social justice, geopolitical balance, and sustainable development. We represent 40% of the world's GDP, more than the G7 countries combined. We also account for about 25% of international trade, and I am absolutely certain that these numbers will be even higher in the coming years. BRICS is, in fact, the ultimate expression of economic success. We are together in this forum because we do understand that cooperation among big BRICS countries has a lot to say to the world. We have history, culture, science, and proposals that need to be visible where the future of mankind is discussed. Recently, I made official visits to Russia and China. I participated in meetings with parliamentary and business authorities.
Sobretudo na transição energética e na infraestrutura. essas viagens trouxeram resultados concretos. Ampliamos o entendimento parlamentar e fortalecemos o contato bilateral em temas como energia limpa, segurança alimentar e inovação tecnológica. São avanços que reforçam o papel de cada parlamento como ator ativo na promoção do desenvolvimento. Senhoras e senhores, o mundo vive um tempo de tensões geopolíticas, de desafios ambientais graves e de desigualdades persistentes. Mas também é um tempo de esperança, de avanços tecnológicos sem precedentes e de sociedades que estão prontas para trilhar novos caminhos
that are ready to follow new peace and wealth creation. The Parliament is, par excellence, the space for the representation of people, but it is also the space for listening. Here, society's expectation take political form. Here, when Parliament assumes its role with seriousness and a vision for the future, it manages to pacify, include, and build collectively. That's why forums like this one are essential. In this space, we have the opportunity to exchange legislative experiences, to learn good practices, to learn from the mistakes and successes of others, and to strengthen our institutions, not by imposition, but inspiration and cooperation. And together, we can build the path towards a more just and balanced future. I would like to publicly thank the technical teams, the interpreters, the international advisors, the security professionals, logistics, and communication professionals as well. Events of this magnitude do not happen by chance. They are the result of hard work, very often silent work, but fruit of the dedication of many people, many civil servants. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe the world we want for the future is shaped by the choices we make in the present moment. Choices that respect the diversity of realities are more likely to generate lasting results. I therefore hope that this 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum be a priority space for debate, for propositional discourse, and for joint cooperation, made offer and strengthen a historical result, a final document consistent with our convictions, and above all, committed to concrete actions. The National Congress of Brazil, this house that is a symbol of popular struggle, is honored to host this forum. May Brasilia, with its open wing architecture, inspires us to fly higher in the building of a better future. May we have an excellent 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Thank you all very much. Please allow me to give the floor at the same time that I register my admiration to my friend, federal representative of the state of Paraíba, president of the House of Representatives of Brazil, Federal Representative Hugo Mota. I am honored to give you the floor. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to salute Mr. Senator Davi Alcolumbre, President of our Federal Senate and co-president of this forum with me. We have a relationship of friendship and partnership and dialogue in favor of our country, bringing the National Congress together in the interest of the Brazilian people. Also, I'd like to salute our Vice President, Mr. Geraldo Alckmin, also His Excellency of the Supreme Federal Court, Mr. Gilmar Mendes, or Justice Gilmar Mendes, I beg your pardon. Also, the Deputy Minister of the Foreign Affairs Ministry, Ambassador Maria Laura da Rocha, coordinators of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, Mr. Humberto Costa, also Mr. Pinato, all of you who came to Brazil with your delegations, all of you present here, all authorities that are here in this solemnity, and also all of our staff in the House of Representatives and the Senate. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and satisfaction that I extend the greetings of the Chamber of Deputies, the House of Representatives of Brazil, to the participants of the 11th edition of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum, hosted this year in our National Congress Palace in Brasilia. Please receive our warmest welcome to Brazil's capital, a land of multicultural coexistence and strong diplomatic tradition. I thank the delegations of BRICS member countries for their presence. We also warmly welcome the delegations of partner nations and invited institutions. I'd like to greet all the deputies and senators of Brazil whose presence illustrates this Parliament's commitment to warmly hosting our international guests. We are gathered here as representatives of great nations and spokespersons of a more equitable, multipolar, and supportive worldview, a vision in which interparliamentary cooperation is essential for promoting an agenda of peace, sustainable development, and shared prosperity. The this Brazilian parliament has assumed the rotating presidency of the forum under the motto, "The role of BRICS parliaments in building a more inclusive and sustainable governance." And this motto inspires the agenda that guides us, with a focus on two priority fronts: South-South cooperation and strengthening of BRICS partnerships for social, economic, and environmental development. Ladies and gentlemen, we currently face an international context marked by geopolitical tensions, protectionism, and the weakening of multilateralism. And in this scenario, investing in dialogue, diplomacy, and the renewal of international institutions becomes even more imperative. We are all aware of the strength and greatness of BRICS, and I'd refer not only to the numbers and figures that reveal our share of the world population, the combined GDP of our nations, and the growing flow of trade and investments that we collectively represent. I primarily highlight the strength and greatness that manifest in our country's ability to promote joint solutions, especially in the face of systemic challenges affecting our populations. The BRICS Parliamentary Forum is consolidating itself as a privileged space to strengthen parliamentary diplomacy and ensure that commitments undertaken by the heads of state actually translate into norms and concrete actions in the respective parliaments. In organizing this forum, the Brazilian presidency proposed 6 priority themes to guide the debates: global health cooperation, trade, investments and finance, climate change, artificial intelligence governance, multilateral peace and security architecture, and institutional development. All of them reflect pressing challenges of our time. In the area of health, it is very important that we work to intensify collaboration among BRICS members. This includes the development of projects in public health aimed at strengthening each nation's health systems and ensuring an efficient response to challenges like the world faced with COVID-19. Regarding trade, investment and finance, we parliamentarians can advance initiatives that catalyze the flow of trade and investments among Global South countries. We can foster trade among the group's countries, eliminate non-tariff barriers, facilitate the mobility of entrepreneurs, and harmonize norms and certifications. We also cannot shy away from discussions on how to diversify and strengthen initiatives and mechanisms, such as local currency payments, to reduce transaction costs and expand new business opportunities. This field also includes initiatives aimed at promoting more just and efficient tax systems, an objective to which we have dedicated ourselves with commitment in the Brazilian Parliament. In terms of investments, we highlight the importance of the new development bank as a pillar for financing infrastructure projects, clean energy, and technological innovation. The BRICS Bank can be the engine of a new generation of investments that prioritize growth with social inclusion and environmental sustainability. Knowledge is as important as capital. Therefore, we must intensify the exchange of researchers, academic cooperation programs, and the transfer of technologies in areas such as in the Industry 4.0, bioeconomy, precision agriculture, among others. Alongside issues aimed at increasing partners' economic prosperity, is essential for us to remain attentive to climate change and its impacts in all dimensions. The development and improvement of our population's living conditions are inseparable from effective actions in the transition to a low-carbon economy. We legislators have the mission to establish efficient regulatory frameworks that guarantee legal certainty to boost investments that will confirm BRICS leadership in environmental and climate matters. Here in Brazil, which will host COP30 in November in the city of Belém do Pará, We are advancing legislation to regulate the carbon market, accelerate the energy transition, and to foster the use of biofuels. Measures such as these ones can be shared and replicated, constituting good practices for other BRICS countries. The reality of technological advances, as well as their impacts on new social dynamics of interaction, knowledge dissemination, and labor market performance, imposes on us the duty to address internally and externally the governance of artificial intelligence. The laws and norms originating in our legislative houses will contain the necessary safeguards to ensure that the use of artificial intelligence for our development be accompanied by appropriate parameters of ethics and transparency, respect for human rights, and preservation of each nation's sovereignty. Dialogue and exchange of good parliamentary practices will provide the answer many of us seek, a way to harmonize modernity and the speed of cybernetic evolution with the protection of individual, collective, corporate, and institutional rights, both in the public and private sectors. Moving on to another important point that will be addressed in this forum, the multilateral peace and security architecture, it is important to remember that Brazil, in its constitution, established that in its international relations, it will be a defender of peace, non-intervention in the internal affairs of third countries, the self-determination of peoples, and the peaceful resolution of conflicts. We will defend human rights and will always repudiate racism and terrorism. As we have done with the Interparliamentary Union, with the support of many of the partners present here, we propose a joint effort by parliaments in favor of a comprehensive reform of multilateral organizations. This reform must reflect with greater proportionality the current geopolitical instance and strengthen the voice of emerging and developing countries in Latin America and the Caribbean, Africa, and Asia in these decision-making spaces. It is unacceptable that increasingly flagrantly ineffective that decision-making structures of the UN system continue to reflect the post-war world and not the geopolitical dynamics of the 21st century. Our commitment to the reform of the United Nations Security Council is unequivocal. A more representative council with greater participation from Global South countries is indispensable. We are also in favor of the reform of the World Trade Organization to foster predictability in trade exchanges. We advocate for the need for special and differentiated treatment for developing countries and the restoration of the dispute settlement system. We want trade rules that treat agriculture with respect and justice that were promised to us but have not yet been realized. We will be closer to achieving these aspirations if we strengthen ourselves institutionally. United parliaments of the BRICS countries form an influential and strategic body in monitoring central issues pertinent to our nations and in political and economic debates on a global scale. I would also like to highlight the role of the parliamentary diplomacy in promoting gender equality and the inclusion of women in positions of power. We had the honor of hosting yesterday the BRICS Women Parliamentary meeting. an event that we consider essential for a more cohesive and efficient parliamentary cooperation. We also promoted a fruitful meeting of chairpersons of foreign relations committees of BRICS parliaments. The formalization of meetings of this nature has our full enthusiastic support. Ladies and gentlemen, BRICS is a plural and strategic platform. Its strength will depend on our ability to make it even more effective and connected to the demands of our peoples. Parliamentary diplomacy plays a vital role in this process, promoting social control and deepening the public debates and strengthening the ties between our legislatures. In this complex world, and even chaotic where we live in, let us be inspired by the lesson of the Brazilian writer Ariano Suassuna. Let us not be optimistic, because optimists are naive. But let's not be pessimists, for pessimists are bitter. Let us be hopeful realists. Animated by this invocation, let us make this forum something more than a space for exchange of ideas. Let us make it a call to action. May the fruit of this meeting be reflected in concrete legislative initiatives, joint projects, and a shared vision for the future. A realistic, hopeful vision. May with this initiative, our parliaments offer an invaluable contribution to the collective aspirations for more influence on the international scenario and more prosperity for our peoples by building a more just, supportive, and sustainable world. This is our task and our responsibility. Thank you very much.
Now I grant the floor to our second Vice President of the Federal Senate and also the Parliamentary Coordinator in the Federal Senate, Senator Humberto Costa. Excellent President of the Senate of the National Congress, Senator Davi Alcolumbre, Your Excellency President of the Chamber of Deputies, Federal Deputy Hugo Mota, Your Excellency Acting President of the Republic, Geraldo Alckmin, Your Excellency Minister of the Federal Supreme Court, Honorable Senior Justice Gilmar Mendes, Madam Acting Minister of State for Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Maria Laura, Mr. Parliamentary Coordinator for BRICS from the Chamber, House of Representatives, valiant colleague Federal Deputy Fausto Pinato. It is an honor for me that the distinguished Senator Davi Alcolumbre has entrusted me on behalf of the Federal Senate with coordinating this 11th edition of the BRICS Parliamentary Forum. Distinguished parliamentarians from various countries are gathered here in a frank demonstration of a robust alliance at the full pulse of BRICS. With the grandeur of our partner sister nations, the brilliance of this mutual, multiple, and inclusive pact, we have made a decisive break on the traditional geopolitics of yesteryears. For the multilateralism, it is undeniable that we have a crisis, evidenced by the configuration of institutional configuration and the representation of the international organisms. And the system of United Nations and organizations of commerce has entered in a debate exactly because now it's not figured in the political squadron. It is a system. Those systems are still designed in precarious scenarios that reminds us of the 50s and the past century, consolidated in a central position of the Occident. It is ignored that the past decades there was the crescent importance of the new protagonists in the arena of global politics. No, we are not peripherals, and we deny to be. It is not true that the scenario, there is a center of certain richer north that they judge and exclude. BRICS, it's a point of inflection given that we have an inclusive agenda by initiative, and accept in this foundation is that we renew some partnerships through invitations in the nations that are friends, so we can share and advance our economies and societies. We are then adepts of a new political order, based including in the dense cooperation, South-South cooperation. So we desire and we must be treated as actors of weight, protagonists of a new perspective, of a new geopolitical perspective. The central logic of the bloc, it's the firmness of a new architecture that sees in an equal way for those traditions of the Western Northern tradition. It's a resistant path that our countries have faced to deal with common questions and global challenges. Rich territories in natural resources and expressive oil reserves, rare earth, natural gas, and sweet waters. We are the BRICS. We are the BRICS. Today, we represent around 39% of the international GDP, and we have almost half of the world's inhabitants. We are a spark of development. We conceive that with multilateral pact that here is celebrated, it's a guideline to the well-being of our societies, because it's a fair play facing the interdependency of the nations. The multilateralism, it's a principle, and the fails of international community by admitting that they came from political actors, that they aim themselves so higher, and a specific paranoia that in this moment they turn towards the free market of the nations and their fair trades. In this context, it emerges and intensifies the demand for robust parliaments, representatives, that they share the desire of multilateralism to strengthen the proximity of our societies, enacting the deficiencies in our agenda of the old international systems. We in the Parliament have several challenges to face, so there is the main importance to exchange experiences and the greater interchange between our legislative houses. So we salute our BRICS representatives before the entrance of South Africa, that in 2011, at the margins of the T20, they gathered together with this summit, calling of this for the exercise of a central role in the bloc. And in 2015, in Moscow, they faced the first official parliamentary forum. Since then, we're to the formalization of the forum. In South Africa in 2023, we established a memorandum of understanding, and in Russia in 2024, by elaborating the complementary protocol that defined strategy of global cooperation, formalizing this parliamentary dimension. We advanced for the presidents of commissions, of international affairs commissions for several countries of the group. So also innovated in the possibility to invite countries, not members, and clear bias on the principle of inclusion. Beside that, we've decided to foster that young parliamentarians, men and women, start to integrate the official delegations of our meetings. So this 11th edition of BRICS Forum show the motto, the role of the parliaments of BRICS in building a more inclusive governance and sustainable. We'd like to go forward, approaching our legislative houses on current themes so that through the exchange of experiences, we can jointly drive public policies. Approaches in health, new technologies, environment, trade and investments, technology transfers, reduction of external dependencies in technologies, and artificial intelligence are topical themes that deserve increased attention without neglecting others that may emerge. We support our parliaments forming inter-country thematic groups and committees to foster better experiences and solutions for the impediments to our progress. The need of cooperation, of dense cooperation, and more in certain vertices, and health, for example, to promote of sanitary models founded in equity and technological innovation with the well-being in health and to face crises as the pandemics, the world pandemic, which we went out 3 years ago. In technologies, there are several challenges. It's urgent that we face under new platforms and artificial intelligence, and from that we can extract the best for our societies, considering overall and always the protections of our children and youngs and the copyrights and the sovereign management of our nations. Environment, it's something decisive. It's a vector that we follow, mirroring and benchmarking of regulatory marks and prioritizing the theme green economics. The challenge is huge. It's to promote development innovative to our societies and allows healthy ecosystems, guaranteeing as well quality of life for our nations to the future. For those technologies and platforms which bias is by the transparency algorithm and clear responsibility to our societies. In this BRICS part, we are already bold, a new geopolitical redesigning underway, a time when the legislative branch becomes paramount to these ends, and this will not shy away. We are confident that our parliaments, as foundational pieces in the redesigned geopolitical chessboard and in these areas of accelerated technologies that portrays the liquid world, as Bauman would say, can and must act pungently for the progress of our BRICS and the upliftment of our people. Thank you all. Now I grant the floor for the parliamentary coordinator and the deputy of representative, Mr. Fausto Pavinato. Good morning. I'd like to start saluting my great friend, President of the Senate, Senator Davi Alcolumbre, and which has an important role in this moment of our Brazilian Republic. I'd like to say that Davi, with his fun way, it's a man that talks with both of people, all types of people with a lot of responsibility for Brazil. Brazil needs Your Excellency in the Federal Senate among the diversity between left and right-wing orientations. Brazil has a president of the National Congress that, without no doubt, is going to make the defense of the democratic state of law. In the same way, I'd like to salute this young deputy from the state of Paraíba. It's young in age, but an experienced politician, the state deputy, federal deputy, a person that was talking with everyone. Such as God is wise, and such a moment in Brazil, He chooses two young men to preside the Chamber of Deputies in the Senate. The parties that have dialogue, they're not in the extreme wings, and divine wisdom, they came to give a new way to Brazil, because Brazil needs temperance and equilibrium. I'm extremely proud. I would also like to salute our Vice President and President in exercise, Minister Geraldo Alckmin. It's someone that I had the satisfaction to work in my state. It's a serious person, and I'd like to say that you, President, I'm from the school of Mário Covas and Geraldo Alckmin. We can diverse, yes, among some points, but if you've been in the story as you've been, and the Constitution, we worked together. In the square of Sé in São Paulo, when we were defending the construction of a democracy, even thinking differently. We were asking about diretas já on the vote, and Your Excellency, with all the story of our Professor Mário Covas, even though diverging, we decided to save democracy. You also are a great defendant of the democracy. I'm also so proud of you, Mr. Alckmin. People here talk about the Minister of the Supreme Court, Minister Gilmar Mendes, that was lawyer. Since Fernando Henrique, center minister of position that several times, it's not someone that like to applaud from the social networks, but fulfill the law and always brings equilibrium. Minister Gilmar, Your Excellency, I'd like to extend our compliment from the Federal Senate, and also in the name of Minister Alexandre de Moraes and Barroso, with their experience, didn't bow at any type of pressure to maintain the democratic state of law. I may disagree with punctual decision from the Supreme Court, but I will always defend the story of the Supreme Court, and I salute Your Excellency for the magnificent lordship among all the governments, social democrats, left, and always acting with equilibrium and transparency. And the same way, I'd like to salute my great friend Humberto Costas, a senator that is a different field of mine. He's from the left, I'm more center-right. This shows us that we may have dialogue and think differently, but think in our country. Congratulations for your work. It is an honor to welcome you to the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum in Brasilia. I want to congratulate the visionaries behind this bloc for seeing the need to unite forces to foster a solid partnership aiming at our common interests. Help the people to develop who had pandemics and health. It's important to help us the education, so we're gonna increase our GDP and create dialogue. Since the beginning, we sought to redefine global trade. Recently, we expanded our family, and when I say this, the feeling must be of family, with the accession of Egypt, Indonesia, United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, Ethiopia, and Iran. This expansion provides us with unique opportunities to strengthen our alliances and address global challenges jointly. Furthermore, we must not forget the partner countries, Belarus, Bolivia, that we made the exchange of technology, and the senator from Bolivia, what we did in his hair, because the technology from Bolivia, he's going to show it to us. Kazakhstan, Cuba, Malaysia, Nigeria. We have a historical in America, Europe, Asia, African countries. We're a country that, under the power of diplomacy, we export food, joy in football, soccer, and our carnival, and we're also a country of war. We don't want to know this or that. We always like to be on the right side. I would also like to salute, I forgot to mention, Thailand, Uganda, and Uzbekistan, who complement our collective effort. In terms of global contribution, each of our countries brings something unique to the table. India is a force in the pharmaceutical industry. It's a nation that is growing. It's a great... We have also Russia that continues to innovate, that has been a victim of a war that could be avoided because of not to put weapons, and while China leads as industrial and economic powerhouse. And we can share innovations and ensure the well-being of our citizens. In the current international scenario, we perceive an attempt at hegemony that disrespects the sovereignty of other nations. The world doesn't need a sheriff that sees powers, but rather honest and reciprocal partnership. It is essential to defend our sovereignty and not yet yield to those leaders who use threats as a tool of power. The European Union, Canada, BRICS, Japan, and many other countries stand firm against these impositions. We cannot yield to injustice and bribes. United, we will overcome any challenge and build an architecture of peace that fosters global stability, even thinking differently with different cultures and different regimes, each one respecting their space. We dedicate our efforts to protecting our rich biodiversity and leading the fight against climate change, replacing speeches with concrete actions. We must be examples of sustainability, acting proactively in combating climate change. President Davi, it's not less true that we cannot take our capacity to develop, because it's good to talk about preservation. In the north, our teachers, our children walking on barefoot, and those who criticize more the most were to kill the most and act as the policy of the world and must pay the bill, because we have responsibility, yes, but we have to make the lives of our people better. In the era of digital transformation, technology and artificial intelligence will be key for the future. It's up to us to establish guidelines for responsible innovation, prioritizing safety and privacy. But we know that AI, Internet, when it came, it was extremely important, but it's also used with a division tool, a distortion, and lies. It must be brave that serious countries, being democracies or not, you can say what you want and answer for what you send, and not cowards to hide behind robots. Our development bank is a crucial tool, financing projects that drive our sustainable agenda. And undoubtedly, so we can develop it. Some countries. Including Brazil, we have some debts with the African continent. The slavery is over, but all we have to make a mea culpa and say a hand. But the European has a debt to American and also to the African continent. Finally, BRICS emerges as a united force for a more just world order. The world does not belong to a single dominator. We value the history of the United States, but it's time to pave our own path based on collaboration, mutual respect, and equity. In recent days, we are seeing live and in color, and we have brave Brazilians to say what must be said. Mr. Donald Trump, President of the United States, one of the biggest nations of the world, abandoned diplomacy. And abandoning diplomacy and the necessary respect of existing agreements between countries worldwide to position himself as if he were a dictator of the global economy, threatening and blackmailing people and country. We are sovereign. We choose good paths. We cannot accept this. And to that end, we must bravely fight together to build a new world order, aiming for respect and bilateral negotiation, because only then we will be free from suffering jolts like those created by Donald Trump. Mr. Minister, we deputies, we had a commitment to defend the Constitution. Regardless who win, we're going to defend our Constitution. Those are few, but there are those with courage, and regardless, and manipulating great nations and try to attempt with our Supreme Court. Let's use this forum to foster progress and peace. United, we're a beacon of sustainable development. United, we can work together, even thinking differently and making a new world history, bring more solidarity and less hunger, more development with equitative and just. The hopes is born now, and the Parliament of BRICS has an important paper on that. Thank you very much.
Gostaria de conceder agora a palavra ao excelentíssimo senhor ministro do Supremo Tribunal Federal,
We will now
ministro
give
Gilmar
the
Mendes.
floor to Justice Gilmar Mendes.
Bom dia a todas
Good
e a
morning,
todos.
ladies
Cumprimentando
and
o senhor
gentlemen.
senador Davi Alcolumbre,
I'd like
presidente
to
do
salute
Senado
Your
Federal,
Excellency Senator Davi Alcolumbre,
presidente
President
da
of
Câmara
the
dos
Federal
Deputados,
Senate,
deputado
Your
Hugo
Excellency
Mota,
Federal
cumprimentar o
Deputy
presidente da
Hugo
República
Mota,
em exercício,
the President of the Chamber
ministro
of
e
the House of
vice-presidente
Representatives,
Geraldo
Your
Alckmin,
Excellency Geraldo
senhora
Alckmin,
embaixadora
Acting
Maria
President
Laura,
of the
ministra
Republic, Your
de Estado das
Excellency
Relações
Ambassador Maria
Exteriores,
Laura,
o
Acting
senador
Minister of
Humberto
State
Costa, coordenador
of
parlamentar
Foreign Affairs,
do BRICS
Your
no
Excellency
Senado, o deputado
Senator
federal
Humberto
Fausto
Costa,
Pinatti, coordenador
Parliamentary
parlamentar do BRICS na
Coordinator
Câmara dos
of
Deputados,
BRICS in the Federal Senate, Your
senhoras e
Excellency,
senhores
the
parlamentares
Federal
dos
Deputy
países
Fausto
membros e
Pinato, Parliamentary
parceiros
Coordinator
do
of BRICS in
BRICS,
the House of
seus chefes de
Representatives,
delegação,
ladies and gentlemen,
distintos
parliamentarians
convidados.
from BRICS,
É com
member
elevado sentimento de
and
honra
partner
e
countries,
profunda
heads of
satisfação,
delegation and
senhor
distinguished
presidente, que
guests.
participo dessa
It is
solenidade
with great
de
sense of
abertura
honor
do 11º
that I
Fórum Parlamentar do
participate in this
Esta
opening
ocasião
ceremony
representa
of the
uma
11th
oportunidade
BRICS
ímpar
Parliamentary
para
Forum.
aprofundarmos o
This
diálogo
occasion
interparlamentar
represents a
e
unique
fortalecermos a cooperação
opportunity
em
to
prol do
deepen
desenvolvimento
interparliamentary
partilhado
dialogue and
entre
strengthen
nossas
cooperation
nações.
for shared development among
Com
our
3 dias de
nations.
encontros temáticos e de
With 3
sessões
days of
plenárias,
thematic
o evento
meetings and
reforça
plenary
o
sessions,
valor da
the event
diplomacia
reinforces the
parlamentar
value
como instrumento
of parliamentary
essencial à
diplomacy
construção
as an
de
essential
pontes entre os
instrument
povos.
for
Ao
building
sediar esse
bridges
importante
between
fórum,
peoples.
o Brasil reitera
By
o seu
hosting
firme
this important
compromisso
forum,
com o
Brazil
fortalecimento do
reiterates
bloco
its
e
firm
com a
commitment
edificação de
to
futuro mais
strengthening the
próspero
bloc
e
and to building a more
sob a
prosperous and
égide
inclusive
da nossa
future
presidência
under the
rotativa.
aegis of our
O lema que nos guia
rotating
neste ciclo,
presidency.
o papel
The
do-
motto
dos
that
parlamentos
guides
do
us
BRICS
in
na
this
construção
cycle,
de uma
which is
governança
the
global
role of the
mais
BRICS
inclusiva e
parliaments in building a
sustentável,
more inclusive
está
and
em plena
sustainable global
consonância
governance,
com o mote
is
da
in full
presidência
consonance
brasileira do
with the
BRICS
motto
em
of Brazil's
2025.
BRICS presidency
sintonia
in
estratégica
2025.
traduz-se
The
em esforço coeso
strategic
de
synergy
articulação multilateral
translates
que
into a
respeita
cohesive
as
effort of a
especificidades
multilateral
nacionais, sem perder de
liaison
vista
that
os
respects
objetivos comuns.
national
Desde
specificities
sua
without
criação,
losing
o
sight
BRICS,
of
formado por
common
Brasil,
objectives.
Rússia, Índia,
Since
China
its
e
creation,
África do
BRICS
Sul, tem alargado suas
formed
fronteiras,
by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, has expanded its frontiers. In 2023, at the Johannesburg Summit, the group was enlarged with the accession of 6 new members: Saudi Arabia, Egypt, United Arab Emirates, Ethiopia, Indonesia, and Iran. The bloc also counts on 9 partner countries in an effort of inclusion and dialogue that enriches our global representativeness. Today, BRICS is consolidating itself as a pillar of the New World Order, bringing together 11 nations that represent approximately 49% of the world's population, 36% of global territory, and 23% of international trade. In economic terms, the bloc already surpasses the G7 in purchasing power parity, achieving a cumulative growth of 4% in 2024. It is important to highlight that the Global South, for the Global South, BRICS has asserted itself as a concrete alternative to the traditional financial architecture. The BRICS Development Bank has already approved more than $32.8 billion in 96 infrastructure and sustainability projects, while the contingent reserve arrangement with a fund of $100 billion reinforces economic stability in our country. In our countries. Furthermore, initiatives covering clean energy, health, innovation, food security are also using local currencies and cooperative sovereignty. Finally, I cannot fail to mention the rapprochement between the Brazilian Federal Supreme Court and the Superior Courts of other BRICS countries. In 2009, when I was presiding over the Supreme Court, I personally visited China, where we signed a protocol for strengthening institutional dialogue and promoting the rule of law and human rights. Such collaboration gained momentum in the Sanya Declaration in 2011 and was recently reaffirmed in 2024 with the visit of Justice Luiz Roberto Barroso to the Supreme Court of India, addressing topics such as discrimination and ethical application of artificial intelligence in justice. It is with the spirit of collaboration that we must also intensify dialogue between our parliaments. If our courts are already walking side by side, it is now time for our legislatures to follow the same path. We have a robust agenda for this event, involving themes such as global health cooperation, trade, investments, finance, climate change, governance of artificial intelligence, multilateral peace and security, and institutional development. So it is an important step in this journey. The mission that awaits us on the international scenario is undoubtedly challenging. And I wish everyone an excellent forum. Thank you very much.
Concedo a palavra à senhora ministra de Estado das Relações Exteriores, substituta embaixadora Maria Laura da Rocha.
Now I invite Maria Laura da Rocha.
Muito obrigada, senhor presidente.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Presidente do Senado Federal, senador
President of the Senator, the Senator Davi Alcolumbre, President of the Deputy of Chamber Hugo Malta, Mr. President of the Republic in exercise, Geraldo Alckmin, Minister of the Supreme Court, Gilmar Mendes, Mr. Senator Humberto Costa, Mr. Deputy Fausto Pinato, ladies and gentlemen, representatives of the Parliament of the BRICS countries. It is a great honor to represent the Foreign Affairs Ambassador in the opening of the 11th BRICS Parliamentary Forum, and held here in the National Congress Building, the greatest symbol of Brazilian democracy. The presence of representatives from the parliaments of BRICS countries gathered around a robust, diverse, and transformative agenda is concrete proof of our group's commitment to political dialogue, dialogue, multi-sectoral cooperation, and the strengthening of the democratic institutions. Also greet the representatives of the BRICS partners countries participating in this edition of the forum. As you know, the category of partner countries was recently created in 2024, and the Brazilian presidency was tasked with proposing structure and inclusive forms of engagement for these new actors. This task has been conducted with responsibility and creativity, and the fact that partners are present in this inter-parliamentary space is a sign that we are on the right track. It is also a source of great satisfaction to note that the themes chosen for this edition of the Parliamentary Forum are strongly aligned with the priorities of Brazil's BRICS presidency in 2025. And this convergence between the executive and legislative branches further enriches and legitimizes Brazil's efforts in leading the BRICS presidency, expanding the scope of our actions and reinforcing the commitment to concrete results and positive impact to our societies. Themes such as global health, environmental sustainability, inclusive economic development, artificial intelligence governance, and the reform of the multilateral peace and security architecture reflect central concerns of our society and our time. These are interconnected issues that demand coordinated response and a vision of the future. And precisely for this reason, the active involvement of national parliament as legitimate expressions of popular will is essential. It not only deepens democratic debate, but also strengthens the bonds of trust between the institutions and citizens. From the perspective of Brazilian diplomacy, the Parliamentary Forum constitutes a central piece to BRICS people-to-people pillar. Throughout its 10 previous editions, the Forum has grown in scope, depth, and participation. In this 11th edition, it consolidates itself as a relevant political dialogue space with a real capacity to influence public policies and guide cooperation actions among our countries. I also want to highlight the role to the BRICS Women Parliamentarians meeting held yesterday, also here at the National Congress. It was a symbolic and substantial moment of active listening, articulation, and commitment to equity. The voice of women in BRICS decision-making bodies is essential for building more just, diverse, and egalitarian societies. Brazil is proud to have hosted this meeting in an environment of mutual respect, plurality, and cooperation. By the end of May, approximately 160 official meetings had already been held in the context of the Brazilian BRICS presidency, with about 60 more planned for the coming months. This expressive volume of activities demonstrates Brazil's high level of commitment to a presidency that is substantive, representative, and propositional. We are now just 4 weeks away from the Leaders' Summit, which will take place in Rio de Janeiro between 6 and 7 of July, and we continue to work with dedication and diligence to ensure that the summit represents a moment of inflection and renewed ambition. The summit will not, however, be the end point of our presidency. Activities will continue throughout the second half of the year with the same focus on promoting concrete initiatives. We live in a complex and challenging international moment. Persistent conflicts, climate change, growing inequalities, and accelerated technological transitions place us before great dilemmas and decisions. More than ever, we need strong institutions, open dialogue, and coordinated actions. Parliaments play a decisive role in this process. Alongside national executives, they help to build bridges, consolidate consensuses, and transform ideas into concrete public policies. I wish you all an excellent forum, full of significant exchanges and constructive proposals. I iterate, on behalf of Itamaraty, our commitment to continue working side by side with this Parliament and with the representatives of BRICS countries and their partners for more effective, representative, and transformative cooperation. Now I grant the word President of the Republic, Vice President Geraldo Alckmin.
Quero cumprimentar o senador
I would like to salute Senator Davi Alcolumbre,
Senado Federal,
President of the
Congresso
Federal Senate and the National Congress,
Deputado Federal Hugo Mota, presidente da Câmara
Hugo
dos
Mota, the
Deputados,
President of the Chamber of Deputies, Minister Gilmar Mendes,
decano do Supremo Tribunal Federal,
Minister of the Supreme
Embaixadora
Court,
Maria Laura da
Ambassador
Rocha,
Maria Laura da
ministra
Rocha,
de
Minister
Estado das Relações
of State of
Exteriores
Foreign
em
Affairs
exercício,
in exercise,
senador
Senator Humberto Costa, coordinator
parlamentar do BRICS
of the
no
BRICS
Senado
and the
Federal,
Federal Senate,
Deputado Federal
Federal Deputy Fausto Pinato, Parliamentary Coordinator of BRICS and the Chamber of Deputies,
senhoras e senhores,
ladies and gentlemen,
presidentes dos parlamentos dos
President of the
países
Parliament
dos
of the
BRICS,
countries of BRICS,
parlamentares dos países
parliamentaries
dos
of the BRICS,
senhoras e senhores. É uma honra
it is an honor
receber hoje em
to receive
Brasília
today in Brasilia
os parlamentares
the
do
parliamentarians
BRICS
of the BRICS
nesta
for this
11ª
11th edition
do
of the
Fórum.
Forum.
Este encontro
This gathering
reflete o compromisso
reflects
do grupo
the group's
em
commitment
refletir
on
e
reflecting and contributing
cenário
to
para
solutions
soluções em cenário
to
internacional
solutions in a challenging international scenario
marcado por
marked
transformações econômicas,
by economic and
tecnológicas
technological
e
transformations
tensões
and
geopolíticas.
geopolitical tensions.
Unidos,
United,
representamos uma
we
parcela
represent
expressiva
a
da
significant
população
portion
e da economia
of the global
globais, com
and a
responsabilidade
population and economy,
para construir
with a
futuro mais
responsibility
justo,
to build a more just,
próspero e
prosperous,
sustentável.
and sustainable future.
Em 2025,
In 2025,
Brasil assumiu a
Brazil assumed the
rotativa
rotative
do BRICS
presidency of BRICS
com o lema
with the motto
fortalecer a cooperação
strengthening the
do Sul
cooperation
global
of the Global
para
South
uma governança mundial
for a world
mais
governance
inclusiva
more
e
inclusive
sustentável.
and sustainable.
Foram definidas
Were
seis
defined six
prioridades.
strategic priorities. One,
Saúde global.
global health.
A pandemia
The pandemics
mostrou que
showed us
crises
that crises
sanitárias exigem ação
demand
conjunta. Propomos
actions
promover
of
o acesso
several actors.
equitativo
We must promote
a
equitative
vacinas,
access to vaccines,
medicamentos,
medications,
tecnologias de saúde.
and technologies in the health
Também
area.
buscamos criar
We also
protocolos
aim to
de
create
resposta
protocols,
rápida
answer
a
protocols, or
emergências
quick answers for
sanitárias.
sanitary emergencies.
Lembrando, em 2002,
Also reminding that in 2002,
SARS-CoV,
SARS-CoV,
em 2008,
in 2008,
H1N1, em
H1N1,
2012,
2012,
MERS-CoV, em
MERS-CoV,
2015,
2015,
Ebola,
Ebola,
em 2019,
in 2019, coronavirus disease, COVID.
em 17 anos,
In 17 years,
5 grandes
5
epidemias.
great epidemics.
2.
2,
Desenvolvimento econômico.
economic development.
Propomos reduzir
We propose to reduce bureaucratic barriers,
incentivar a conectividade digital,
incentiving
apoiar
connectical
políticas de neoindustrialização
supports policies of now industrialization and sustainability with focus on green technologies
economia circular.
and circular economies.
Precisamos também
We need
incentivar o
also
contato
make
mais
sure
frequente
a
de
more
nossos
intense
empresários.
contact with our businessmen.
3.
3,
Mudança climática e transição verde.
climate change and green transition.
Comprometeu-se a reduzir
Brazil committed
de
to
59
reduce from
67%
59 to 67%
das emissões
of
até
emissions
2035
until
e
2035
eliminar
and
o
eliminate
desmatamento
the
ilegal.
illegal
Aliás,
deforestation.
recompor até parte
Also,
da floresta,
recompose part of the forest through the climate
lançado
fund.
o Pacto pela
Was
Transição
launched the
Ecológica.
Pact for the technological
Trabalhamos por
transition,
mecanismos
and we
de
work for
financiamento,
financing mechanisms
financiamento climático.
for climate
Tudo isso
financing.
acontece em
All of this happens
antecipação à
anticipating
COP30,
COP30
que acontecerá
that is going to
em
take
Belém,
place in Belém
na Amazônia
and the
brasileira
Brazilian Amazon
ao final deste ano.
by the end of this year.
4.
4.
Governança da inteligência artificial.
Artificial intelligence governance.
Inteligência artificial
The
deve ser
AI
guiada
must be guided
por princípios éticos
by ethical
e de
principles
transparência,
and
com
transparency,
foco na proteção de
with the
dados,
focus in the protection of data,
soberania digital
digital
e
sovereignty,
capacitação
and
profissional.
professional
Defendemos
training.
uma governança
We also
responsável da inteligência
responsible governance of
artificial
artificial
por meio da
intelligence
cooperação
through the cooperation
entre governos,
among governments,
e
academia,
setor privado.
and the private sector.
5.
5.
Paz e segurança internacionais.
International peace
O
and
Brasil
security.
reafirma seu
Brazil
compromisso
reaffirms its commitment
com soluções
with
negociadas
with solutions that were
conflitos,
negotiated
e com
for
a reforma
conflict,
do Conselho de
and also
Segurança
with
da
the
ONU
reform of the
para uma governança
Security Council
global
of the UN for a
mais justa
global
e
security more
representativa.
just and
Os
representative.
países dos
The
BRICS
the BRICS
devem
countries,
atuar
they must
como força
act
construtiva
as
em
constructive
prol da
strength
paz.
for peace.
6.
6.
Fortalecimento institucional do
BRICS'
BRICS.
own institutional
A ampliação do
strengthening
grupo exige mais coesão
demands more cohesion
efetividade.
and effectiveness.
Memorando de entendimento
This,
firmado
the
em
memorandum
Joanesburgo
was in Johannesburg,
fortalece o fórum
strengthens the
parlamentar
parliamentary
como
forum
espaço
as a
contínuo
continuum
de
space
cooperação
of cooperation,
legislativa.
legislative
O Brasil se
cooperation.
compromete
Brazil also
com
commits
sua consolidação
with its consolidation of a permanent mechanism of
e
dialogue
ação conjunta.
and
Os
action.
desafios que enfrentamos
The challenges we
da
face
saúde global
from global
à
health
transição verde,
to green transition,
do avanço tecnológico
from technological
à
advancement
segurança
to
internacional,
international security
são complexos
are
e
complex and
interconectados.
interconnected.
Nenhum país pode
No
enfrentá-los
country can face them
sozinho.
alone.
Por isso, o papel
Therefore,
dos nossos parlamentos
The role of
é
our
decisivo.
parliaments is decisive.
Devemos legislar
We must
para
legislate
garantir acesso
to
equitativo à
ensure
saúde,
equitable access to
fomentar
health care,
iniciativas que
foster
reduzam a
initiatives that
pobreza
reduce
e
poverty,
incentivem a inovação
and encourage
com
innovation
justiça social.
with social justice.
Precisamos aprovar
We need to
políticas
approve
que acelerem a
policies
transição
that
ecológica,
accelerate ecological
promovam a
transition,
inteligência artificial
promote
ética
ethical and inclusive AI,
e fortaleçam os
and
mecanismos
strengthen multilateral
multilaterais
mechanisms
de diálogo
for
e
dialogue and
cooperação.
cooperation.
Mas acima de tudo,
But
é
above all,
fundamental lembrar
it is
que o
fundamental
verdadeiro
to
progresso
remember that true
nasce da
progress
nossa capacidade
comes from our
de
ability
construir
to build
sobre o que nos une
upon what
e
unites
não
us
do que nos separa.
and not get lost with what
Os
separates
BRICS
us.
São
The
diversos
BRICS nations are
em
diverse
cultura,
in culture,
história
history,
e modelos de
and
desenvolvimento.
development models.
Isso é uma riqueza
And this is a
e
strength,
não obstáculo.
not an obstacle.
Ao encerrar, gostaria
In
de
closing, I would
reafirmar
like to reaffirm
que a cooperação
that
entre os poderes
cooperation
legislativos
among
dos
the
BRICS
legislative branches
é
of BRICS is
essencial
essential
para transformar
to
decisões
transform
resultados
decisions into
concretos
concrete
para
results
nossas
for our
populações.
populations.
A diplomacia parlamentar
Parliamentary
complementa
diplomacy
os esforços
complements the
dos chefes de
efforts
Estado,
of heads of state,
promovendo compreensão
promoting
mútua
mutual
e
understanding
soluções
and joint
conjuntas.
solutions.
Parlamentos mais
More
conectados
connected parliaments
significam BRICS
mean
mais
stronger
fortes.
BRICS.
O Brasil,
Brazil,
como país
as the
anfitrião,
host country,
almeja
aims to
posicionar-se
position itself
como ponte
as a bridge
entre nações
between
e
nations
regiões.
and regions.
Estamos abertos
We
ao
are
diálogo,
open to dialogue,
à escuta e à
listening,
construção coletiva.
and collective
Como
constructions.
disse o presidente Lula,
As President Lula
só
said,
existe futuro
there
se ele
is
for
only a future if it is sustainable,
justo e
just, and
compartilhado.
shared.
Muito obrigado.
Thank you very much.
Neste momento, eu convido o senador Nelsinho Trade
I would like to invite Senator Nelsinho Trade, President of the Committee for Foreign Affairs in the Federal Senate, also representing Felipe Barros, President of the same committee in the House of Representatives, to hand in the summary of the meeting of the presidents of Foreign Affairs Committees of BRICS Parliaments.
Concedo a palavra ao senador Nelsinho Trade, presidente da Comissão
I
de
give the
Relações
floor
Exteriores e
to
Defesa Nacional do Senado
Nelsinho
Federal
Trade
para a leitura da síntese da presidência das
him
comissões
to
de Relações
read
Exteriores
the
dos
summary
parlamentos dos
of
BRICS.
the meeting of the Foreign Affairs Committee of the BRICS Parliament.
Senhor Presidente, deputado Hugo Mota, colegas parlamentares, Fausto Pinato,
Mr.
Humberto
Alcolumbre,
Costa, em nome dos quais
Mr.
gostaria de
Humberto
saudar
Costa,
aos parlamentares brasileiros que aqui se
Fausto
encontram,
Pinato, all parliamentarians here with us, our Justice, Gilmar Mendes,
das Relações
our Minister of
Exteriores,
Foreign Affairs,
a embaixadora Maria
Ambassador
Laura.
Maria Laura.
Com muito prazer também
I am
cumprimento
very
o presidente
pleased to
Geraldo
salute
Alckmin,
President
apenas
Geraldo
para
Alckmin
ressaltar
and would like to
que
say
houve uma
that
participação
there
muito
was
ativa
active
de
participation
todos os representantes dos
by
países
all
que estiveram
representatives
presentes.
of the countries
Ao todo,
present.
15 países
15 countries
debatemos
attended, and we debated yesterday
e à tarde
in the
alguns
morning
dados
and in the afternoon
interessantes
some
que eu gostaria de passar
interesting
a vossas excelências.
information. BRICS countries have almost half of the population of the planet, around 48.5%, growing above the global average in the next decade. BRICS has huge geographical expansion, including countries from Asia, from Africa. In 2024, the trade among BRICS totaled $210 billion. $121 billion were with BRICS regarding Brazilian exports, representing 35% of all exports, and 85 billion regarding Brazilian exports, imports. In other words, out of every 3 products sold or bought by Brazil, 1 came or went to a BRICS country. Yesterday, we had the honor of having our meeting in our plenary 1 of the House of Representatives. Works were carried out in 3 sessions. Trade, investments, and finance was the topic, and I am here to present the summary of this discussion. And we spoke about the economic relationships among our countries, including national policies and exchange. We need a multipolar world, not only geopolitically speaking, but with multiple civilizations, histories, and priorities may coexist with dignity, each one with their voices, strength, and project, valuing and recognizing the role of freedom. In the first session, we spoke about the importance of fighting against protectionism and unilateralism, and also to care for the principles of free trade in the interest of resuming an international scenario based on rules. We spoke about transportation, logistics, for a better integration of our productive chains. We also spoke about a friendly environment, trustworthy environment amongst all of us. Several delegations mentioned the importance of technology transfer and the need for us to deepen our technical cooperation so as to foster the capacity of innovation in our countries. The third session, we spoke about operations and strategic projects among BRICS countries, especially new sustainable financial instruments. We also spoke about local currencies, and there was consensus regarding the need to support BRICS countries, especially with the new development bank. Concluding, we spoke about the need for us to continue our meetings. All parliamentarians present were invited to dedicate efforts for all the meetings in the BRICS Parliament to be consolidated in a mechanism that is permanent in the future. Also, I'd like to salute our Indian colleagues who will succeed us and will carry on our next meeting. Thank you all very much, and my best regards, and thank you for the collaboration of all. Hail to BRICS.
In this moment, I'd like to invite Senator Leila Barros, leader of the Feminine Caucus in the Federal Senate, and also Federal Deputy Tanira Perônio, representing Deputy Jacques Rocha, the General Coordinator of the Feminine Caucus in the Chamber of Deputies, for the delivery of the summary of the presidency of the meeting, the Women's Parliamentary Women of BRICS. I now grant the floor from Ms. Senator, leader of the Feminine Caucus in the Federal Senate, for the reading of the summary of the presidency of the Women's Parliamentary Meeting of BRICS. Thank you, Mr. President. President of the Federal Senate, Davi Alcolumbre, President of the Chamber of Deputies, Deputy Ego Mota, estimated parliamentary chief of delegation, and also salute with a special, in a very special way, our President of the Republic in exercise, Vice President Geraldo Alckmin, Mr. Minister Gilmar Mendes, representing the President of the Supreme Court, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Maria Laura, the Senator Humberto Costa, that is the coordinator of the BRICS and the Federal Senate, our comrade, and also Fausto Pinato, Federal Deputy Coordinator of BRICS in the Chamber of Deputies. The Women's Parliamentary Meeting realized on June 3rd in 2025 in Brasilia regarding the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS gathered representatives of Brazil and the several members countries: South Africa, China, Cuba, Egypt, United Emirates, Iran, India, and Russia. Through 3 sessions of work, the parliamentarians, they reaffirmed the strategic role of women in the construction of a global governance, more inclusive, democratic, and sustainable, and based on the priorities defined by the Brazilian presidency of BRICS. And the first session, dedicated to discussion of the impacts of artificial intelligence and the women's rights, the parliamentarians highlighted that the technology must be a tool for inclusion and empowering women and not a source of inequalities. It emphasized the importance of the contribution of the parliament for the formulation of international laws that they remind the human rights, especially our women. It also highlights the need of global mechanisms and national to prevent the digital violence and also protect the integrity of girls and women. Beside that, the typing of crimes against women in virtual environments and the responsibility of digital platforms. And in the end, the meeting, the underrepresentation of the feminine in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, recommending the adoptions of public policies that they foster the participation of our women in these areas and also stimulate the entrepreneurship, the digital entrepreneurship of women. In the second session, it was a focus, the facing of climate crisis through the perspectives of women. The parliamentaries discussed the disproportionate effects of climate change on the vulnerable populations, highlighting that women, especially those in the rural areas and the peripheral areas, indigenous people, riverside communities, and poor, are the main victims of natural disasters, the food insecurity, and the forced displacement, beside the loss of income. Beyond that, reinforce the role of the parliaments in creating the legal frameworks and public policies that consider the needs and the knowledge of women, including the promotion, the specific action of financing, training, access to land, technological innovation, and fostering the participation and decision-making spaces. It was also highlighted the urgency in recognizing the protagonism of the women for a strategic way for a fairer, greener, and inclusive future. The third session was dedicated by the strengthening the cooperation South-South and broaden the protagonism of women in the multilateral agenda of BRICS, including the areas of health, trade, technological governance, peace, and security. the parliamentary discussed the active participation of women in the decision-making spaces of international and national, including in the parliaments themselves, facing political violence, fighting poverty and economical inequality, and an education driven by inclusion and equity, and the creating institutional environments more inclusive as measures needed to guarantee an effective representation. Recognized BRICS as the platform, a strategic platform for the interchange of good law practices, the strengthening the international cooperation, and also the development of initiatives turned to promote the women's rights. At the end of the meeting, there was an extra panel to foster the dialogue among parliamentarians and development banks, when the focus in the broadening the role of women as agents and beneficiaries of the financing promoted by these institutions. The Women's Parliamentary BRICS meeting highlighted the collaborative actuation of the countries of the bloc and the strengthening of the diplomacy of women to foster structural transformation oriented by equity and inclusion. Beyond that, the importance, Mr. President and leaders, present leaders, of the institutionalization of the meeting as an annual event needed for us to be continuity in the debates in an annual fashion. In a very special way, Mr. President, all authorities that are here in this floor, I would like to request in a very special way, in the name of the feminine caucus in the National Congress, I'm sorry, the men parliamentary, but a very special way I would like to all women parliamentaries, the cooperation and the participation of all of you in the construction of this such important document. And I also hope that what we perceive, we realize in our Senator Eudócia is also here, and several other parliamentarians that are here, that the anxious of the women, regardless of the countries, regard of the cultures, despite of the cultures, they are basically the same, Mr. President. So I really hope that this document, this can be, in a very effective way, be appreciated with responsibility, and above all, the commitment of the leaders of the bloc. Long live BRICS. Before finishing this solemnity, I'd like to invite for the work lunch that's going to happen in the restaurant of the Deputies Chamber, and inform that our ceremonial teams will be leading and conducting delegations to the place where the lunch is going to be served. Until that 2 o'clock in the afternoon, it's going to begin at the first working session at the 11th Parliamentary Forum of BRICS with the theme Inter-Parliamentary Alliance of BRICS for the global health. I thank all the present authorities and all that honored with their presence here. I declare finished this session.